Hi guys, and welcome back to today we're going to learn how to draft this top. Please, if you know you're new to this channel, you're welcome. Please like, share, subscribe, and let's get into it. We start by marking the horizontal measurement. The first one is the breast point, which is 9.5. I'm going to mark 9.5 across like that. Then after marking that, we'll go ahead and mark the underbust, which is 13.5 across as well. The next thing we're going to do is to calculate the waistline, which is 3 inches to the half length plus the half length. I'm going to be using 19 inches for the waistline. I'm going to mark 19 inches across as well. The full length of this is going to be 24 inches. So I'm going to mark 24 at the end as well and mark it across. Then after doing that, I'll just go ahead and take my straight ruler and just connect all these lines together. Remember, the reason why we're not using half length is because we're going to be snatching the waist, and the best way to snatch it is at the waistline. So I'll just go ahead and label the breast point, the underbust, the waistline, and the full length. For marking our shoulders, the shoulder is 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. We mark 7.5. Basic neckline is 3 by 3, so I'll just be using it because we're not going to be using neckline since this is an off shoulder corset, snatch corset. So we're going to come down by 1.5 inch, and then we're going to create a slant there from that 3.5, that 3 inches, sorry. So next thing I'm going to do is to come down. My armhole depth is 8 inches. So I'm going to also come down by 7.5 there so I can connect with my straight ruler and get a straight line there. The midpoint of 8 inches is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark my 4 inches there. After marking the 4 inches, I'm coming in with ½ inch. Then I'm taking my French curve, and then I'm going to connect those 2 points and the other last point, those 3 points together, just like that, in the curve with the curve ruler. So I'm going to do it there first, and I'm going to connect the rest like that. Next thing I'm going to do is to mark my bust span. My bust span is 7 inches divided by 2, that's 3.5 plus ½ inch allowance, that's 4 inches. I'm going to mark 4 inches across. After marking 4 inches across, I'll connect with my straight ruler. I'm going to find the midpoint of that place there, which is 2.5 inch. Sorry for the camera. So I'm going to connect that 2.5 inch, which is the midpoint. The midpoint, that was 5 inches. I divided by 2, that's 5 inches. That shoulder line is 5 inches divided by 2, 2.5. Then I'll connect it to my breast point line, my bust span at my breast point. Sorry. Then I'm carrying 1 inch down there, 1 inch. Then coming up to that line, that under bust line, to carry 1 inch there as well. Then I'm going to connect those 1 inch I've marked on a straight line with my straight ruler. Next thing I'm going to do is use my curve ruler to create a curve there for the bust, from the other bust down to the breast point. I'm just finding a perfect curve. So now I'm going to just curve it there with my ruler. I'm just doing a little bit of adjustment. Then the other side, I also create a curve to join a breast point such that it is not sharp. You can use a free hand. Next thing, I'm going to come up from my breast point to get my chest line, which is 3.5. I'm coming up with 3.5 inches. This is to create an over bust tightening. So you know what I'm going to do with 3.5 subsequently. So on that shoulder line, I'm going to mark 1 inch at each side. This is because her bust is not that big. Then I'm going to mark ½ inch at both sides of that 3.5 I came up with. Then I'm going to join the lines together, the 1 inch to the ½ inch first. Then I'll use my curve ruler and then blend it into the breast point like that. So now that 2 inches that I took from up, I'm going to replace it there so that it's not going to be short. Then I'm going to just extend that straight line. I want to get the perfect measurement for that place so it will not be tight. So 3 inches is what we're supposed to get before we did all those markings. So I'm going to extend the 3 inches there and then use my curved ruler to connect and get my new armhole curve. So when I finish, I'm going to divide my bust measurement by 4 and add ½ inch sewing allowance to it. We're not adding more than half because it's a snatched bustier and we don't want plenty allowance inside. So next I'm going to be doing is to divide my waist measurement by 4 plus ½ inch sewing allowance plus the 2 inches that we took there. On the full length line, I'm going to be using the hip measurement -1. Then we'll divide it by 4 and add ½ inch sewing allowance. The reason why we're using our hip measurement is because if you notice in the video, down part was a bit free. So now I'm going to just go ahead and connect all these lines with my ruler. If you notice, there's a bit of a curve at the bottom part, so I'm going to come up by 1.5 inch at that end, and I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect it, to curve it like that. The next thing I'm going to do is my bust tightening. I'm going to come down from the bust point line by 2 inches. I'm going to connect that 2 inches to that point there, bust span there. I'm going to just mark all the places I'm going to be cutting off. So all these places I'm marking, I'm going to be cutting them off. The next I'm going to just extend all these lines so that we can cut out the back as we can mark out the back as well. I'm going to mark my shoulder line, which is 7.5. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch for shoulder slope, then come down by 8 inch, and then half of it I'm going to mark 4 inches, and I'm going to extend the 7.5 there just as we did in front. Then I'm going to carry my straight ruler and extend that line there, then draw that 7.5 line down there, and then after doing that I'm going to come in by that half, which is 4 inch by ½ inch, and I'm going to draw my basic neckline, which is back my basic neckline, which is 3.3, and I'm going to connect it like that. I'm going to take my ruler and connect my shoulder slope, that 3 inches to the 1 inch I have already marked. I'm going to go ahead to mark the that line. I'm going to be using 4 inches for that, so I'm going to mark it across just like that. Just go ahead and then connect it with the straight ruler. So I'm going to just extend that line at the bottom. Then I'm going to start marking my bust line, which was 8.5, then my waistline 6.5, then my hip line. Remember, we're adding ½ inch to them for joining. Then I'm going to just use my ruler to curve, to draw the lines, to join all of them together. I'm just correcting that line there. So I'm going to just curve, do my armhole curve, just as we joined all the 3 lines together in front. I'm doing the same thing there. Then I'm going to check my midpoint of my shoulder, which is 2.5. I marked it there. Then I'm connecting it just as we did in front to the line, that line there. After doing that, I'm going to I want an opening at the back where we're going to put in our eyelets. So I'm going to come up there, I'm going to mark 2 inches up there, and I'll come down and mark 1.5 so as to give me kind of a slanted line. I'll use my straight ruler to connect. So I also came at the back at that edge by 1.5 and curved with my straight ruler. Remember to open your bust that and then tilt it over. You can use a sellotape, but I'm using a water gum, so I'm going to just tilt it and gum it down there, then go ahead and continue cutting. When I was done cutting, this is what it looked like. So because the back is good, because it is going to be an off shoulder, and from that armhole the back is going to be opened. So from that armhole from the front, I'm going to compare it, and then I'm going to mark where that armhole from the front ends. Like when it ends, I'm going to mark it. That's going to serve as a guidance of where I'm going to put my ruler to make a curve at the back. So I don't want it to be straight. I'm cutting off that upper part like a yoke. So I'm going to just cross check. I've remarked it. So now I'm going to take my curved ruler. I don't want the shape to be straight. I want it curved. So I'll just randomly just place my curved ruler and just create a curve like that. So I'm going to be cutting that part out like a yoke, but it's not going to be a yoke because there's not going to be a yoke on this. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I don't like doing this. I like joining before I cut, before I do any curve, but let me just do it for doing sake. So now I'm going to place the lines facing each other. If you notice, the lines that we call that 3.5 line, they're touching each other. So I'm going to just take my curved ruler and just curve from the armhole down to that 3.5 overbust line, just the way I'm doing it now. So my advice is that you should just join it. When you're done joining, then you can now take your ruler and then curve it. It's going to give you a perfect shape. This one now, in case you already cut it, so you have cut it. Put your lines for your boning, because from that place now down, it's the way you put your bonings. From the underbust down, it shouldn't touch the upper part where the bust is. Then the side as well, you put your boning at the side, because where you are snatching is the side most importantly, and then your tummy. And then for the eyelet chamber, if you don't want the back open, you can bring out that 2 inches and 1 by 1 that you cut out. Then you can just trim it out to fit the new length of the back and turn that to your eyelet chamber. All you need to do is to put hard gum, I think like double hard gum on it, and then you just turn it. Then it's going to serve as your eyelet chamber. Or if you want it open, then you can just go back to that piece that you have as your back piece, and then you take your tape according to how open you want it to be or how wide. Just use, like now I'm going to take the 1.5 down there again, and then from up I'm going to take 2 inches as my eyelet chamber. So this is what you can do if you want the back to still be very open. So if you don't want to replace the other one you took, so that will also serve as your eyelet chamber. So this could also serve as your eyelet chamber. So what you're going to do now is to trim it out. So later on you're going to put interfacing to make it harder, then you use it as your eyelet chamber, you attach it back as your eyelet chamber. So thank you.
Kini Wura, Sini, Kini Silva, Kini Capital, I never trade you for nothing. See me as I am, I'm rolling, babe.